Today, welcome to the Get MTD Done webinar with FreeAgent and Mettle by NatWest, your reliable free solution. So today we have Courtney from Gorilla. She's going to chat through basically MTD in her practice and how Mettle and FreeAgent are helping her. We also have Grady, who is our product manager for banking, and she's going to chat through Mettle. And then we also have myself. I'm the practice implementation consultant here in FreeAgent. For agenda, so first we'll have a little bit of an overview, what FreeAgent is, and a little MTD overview. Then we'll have Kelly who will chat through Mettle by NatWest. I'll do a little product demo of MTD tools for our landlord and our sole trade. Then we'll hear from Kelly from Gorilla Accounting on Mettle and FreeAgent. And then we'll look at some new up and coming releases, and we'll also have a bit of a Q&A at the end if we do have time. Now, a bit of housekeeping. Today's session will be recorded and will be sent out after the session. Please, can you keep your Q&As to the Q&A box? There is also a chat box, so where you put in where you're tuning in from this morning, please keep it out of the chat box and keep it into the Q&A. We have Regina and Ben on the call as well who'll be able to answer any of your questions. So today we're on the On24 webinar platform. So don't be afraid to click on the slides if you want to enlarge them, or click on our faces if you want to enlarge them. You're not going to ruin anything. It allows you to kind of open the screen and make it bigger. Please be polite and respectful in the chat. And as well, we'll also have some polls throughout this webinar. So if you can please participate in those, it'd be greatly appreciated. So what FreeAgent is. FreeAgent is a HMRC recognized MTD solution. We have unrivaled support both for end users and for practices. We have an intuitive mobile app for iOS and Android. And also we are free for anyone who banks with Mettle. And also if you have a business bank account with NatWest, Royal Bank, or Ulster. We also do have some add-ons that aren't included under this free offering, like our Smart Capture and our Amazon. As well, we also won the ICB Luca Awards for the friendliest software 6 of the last 7 years. Now, let's look at FreeAgent stats. So we have 230,000 active users, and we have 6,500 accounting partners. We have a 97% support satisfaction score, and as well, we have a 78% bank feed enabled across all of our clients. If you look at the industry average, it's nearly double that. Now, let's look at the MTD for income tax timeline. So April 2026, any sole trade and landlord income combined over 50,000 will fall under MTD for income tax. Now that is turnover, it is not profit. So anything that is received over 50,000 will be included in the first wave. The second wave is qualifying income over 30,000, and the third wave is qualifying income over 20,000. Now, let's look at the timeline of submissions. So currently, we're in the 25-26 tax return year. So when this return has to be completed will be in the January 2027. Also in January 2027, 7 days after the end of January 31st, you will have to submit your third quarterly submission. So for some of your clients, you'll have to do their final self-assessment from the previous years, and you'll also have to do their third MTD submission 7 days later. Now, I'd like to pass you on to Kelly, who's going to chat through FreeAgent and Mettle.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Grady, the product manager for the banking integrations team here at FreeAgent. I work very closely with my equivalent teams in Mettle and NatWest, primarily to produce and offer the joint automated ecosystem proposition that we have today. So today what I'll do is I want to quickly spend a bit of time just talking through some of the challenges that some of our practices have told us that they come across every single day. Hopefully talk through a little bit of how this unique proposition will help us overcome some of those challenges for you. And I'm going to talk through some of the simple setup steps for both Mettle and FreeAgent and the connected ecosystem. So before we get started and stuck into the detail, let me talk you through a little bit of an introduction to Mettle for those of you that are less familiar with the bank account. Mettle are part of the NatWest Group, and it's primarily a free digital business bank account designed for small businesses. So it's really easy to apply for a Mettle account. It can be done via the mobile phone or on desktop. And Mettle tend to try to go beyond just banking and more into business management tools. So you do have the ability to create and send customizable invoices from Mettle and be able to have a clearer view of your overall cash flow. And for those who are less confident, they should have the confidence that you can get in-app chat from real people. So no chatbots available in Mettle. You can speak to a real person if you have problems. And it is truly loved by customers. It has an excellent rating on Trustpilot, and we generally get higher ratings in the app and the Play stores as well. So let's have a look at some of the challenges that our practices have told us that they face every day and what's happening at the moment, that juggling act as we have with practices. So one of the biggest things that we know that you face is the quality of data that you get from your clients and the time spent in correcting those errors. You are the endpoint for all of those inconsistencies and the different types of data that you can get, and the weird and wonderful things that customers can do with their data and their transactions. Obviously, moving up into MTD, there's always that compliance pressure. It comes in at high volume. Most of the time, it's tight deadlines. So how do you manage that balancing act between volume and compliance? And we know that practices will try and get a lot of their manual processes to be automated. Want to kind of maintain your profitability so that you're not, again, spending more time on those manual processes. But let's be clear, right? Everybody wants to increase their profitability. Maintaining is good, but you want more profit. And the goal for many practices is to be able to move out of that reactive state and being able to move into a bit more of a proactive advice role. So really being able to help customers grow their business or be in a more confident place with their business on there. So some of the problems that you have or the challenges that you have, I think that this joint proposition will go some way to be able to help to solve some of those issues. So the partnership between FreeAgent and Mettle is really around that efficient process of being able to automate, particularly for the MTD compliance role that we have right now. So one of the biggest things, let's make sure that bookkeeping is as simple as possible. So between Mettle and FreeAgent, you can automatically sync and categorize your transactions. There's prompts for customers to be able to upload their receipts, which again are reflected within FreeAgent. And that gives customers and yourselves for practices that ability to view the accurate and up-to-date status of your cash flow. So we all know cash flow is king and it's the biggest challenges for small businesses. This is a really important one. Hopefully this will lead into feeling slightly more confident around your tax position, being able to both see your tax information within FreeAgent and within Mettle. Means there's no nasty surprises and nobody likes a tax surprise, right? So being able to see that and be prepared for that, particularly being able to save for your tax pot is really important. And the bottom line is, between FreeAgent and Mettle, it's free banking with free accounting. It doesn't get much better than that for clients, particularly some of the customers that will come up to MTD for the first time. So they may be the smaller businesses where the price and the ability to be able to pay for software is something that is really important and really a driver for them. But it's worth calling out that to maintain that free status, what you need to do is your clients need to just make sure that they make one transaction within their Mettle bank account per month. And that's all they need to do to be able to keep that clear. So the connected experience, that streamlined creation of accounts and bank feeds. So bank feeds is is the winning button. So being able to get those bank feeds straight into FreeAgent. This is our shared proposition, and this is where our MTD solution really starts to come to life. So that automatic sync and categorization of the transaction builds that accurate view of the cash flow, again, making sure that customers know where their current status is and their practices. You are always ahead of the game and know what's happening with your clients' accounts. With tax confidence within the Mettle app, they can see a real-time view of their tax calculation driven by those the bank feed transactions that come through. So that's always up to date. And they can get that running total to see how much they owe. So it's a bi-directional sharing of data. And then this is where Mettle can do the heavy lifting. For FreeAgent, you have the ability to automatically save for tax. So you can set aside that money, be very prepared for that tax. So you can set that up as a percentage. So every time that those transactions come through, you know that that money is secure. It's getting squirreled away in a little pot. So you know where it is, and you can adjust and move that as the tax estimate starts to change. So you can always be ahead of the game. So it's worthwhile digging into kind of what's under the bonnet of this and how that interaction plays out between Mettle and FreeAgent. So the top row is what happens in Mettle. So that's the activity that is happening for Mettle and Mettle customers, and FreeAgent is the FreeAgent row. So the two on the left, the grey, the set your business and you transact daily, is what I've kind of been talking about. So as soon as customers open up a Mettle bank account, we'll provision a FreeAgent account for them. So that's done in the background automatically as soon as that's happened. Customers can then start to use that Mettle account as soon as they start to transact through the automatic AI categorization and the bank feed. Those transactions start to come through into FreeAgent. And this is where we start to get into the real power moves. This is where FreeAgent power the tax estimate that's shown in the Mettle app. So using that information, using those transactions and those categories, we are then able to show the breakdown of the tax by type within the Mettle app that is accessible to Mettle customers. That's automatically updated, so that's synced consistently. And through the tax timeline, they'll be able to see when that tax is due. So it will give them prompts when it's due, what they need to do. So it really starts to bring together the power of accounting and banking as one, so that you can view your tax and then make the payments, and it works seamlessly between the two. Customer would never know. This then leads into using that number, that calculation, that updated view of your tax liabilities. You can then set or amend your goal for tax savings. So always being ahead, always being prepared for tax is everybody's win. And then as you go towards the end of the tax journey, moving into the time for submitting those returns, you then start to see those prompts within Mettle as well. So through your tax timeline, it will tell you it's due on this date for this amount, and it will view quarterly returns and your end of year returns as well. Worth noting at this point that at any point within your tax, there are deep links within Mettle back into FreeAgent. So if you want to see any more detail, get into the detail of your transactions, or be able to submit your tax return, there's a link from Mettle straight into FreeAgent. So again, that partnership and that connectivity really works very strongly for both Mettle and FreeAgent customers. So that's all wonderful, how it works, but how do you get there? So let's have a closer look at those journeys. So for customers, the first thing that you do, you set up that Mettle bank account. First and foremost, check the eligibility. So make sure that you are eligible for a Mettle account. And then beyond that point, it's really simple. So you can either, if you're from the desktop, scan the QR code, or you can head to the App or Play stores and download the mobile app and follow the application steps from there. It's really simple. You'll get asked for information about your business and some verification to make sure that it's you. And it's very, very simple to be able to set that few steps and you're in. From here, once your Mettle bank account is set up, it's time to connect your FreeAgent account. So from Mettle, you step into connections. So from this point, it will ask you whether or not you already have a FreeAgent account or you are new to FreeAgent, because we have customers that are FreeAgent first and then discover Mettle, or you come from Mettle and into FreeAgent, and there's different journeys depending on whether you're an existing FreeAgent customer or new to FreeAgent. So confirm that status. Then you'll have a few screens where you'll be able to put in more of your business details, so the more specific details of your business. And the final step is to activate your FreeAgent account by securing it and setting your password. From this point, as soon as that's activated, transactions will start flowing from Mettle into FreeAgent, and you are good to go. From a practice side, it's similar, but there's a little nuance. So first steps are very much the same. Get your client to check the eligibility, get them to download the app or their QR code from the desktop and set up their Mettle bank account. Once that's set up, there will be prompts from Mettle promoting FreeAgent and encouraging them to set up that FreeAgent connection. It's worthwhile saying not to do that, because you have to set their license for them to be practice managed. So tell them to ignore that. As wonderful as they are, tell them to ignore that for now. And then as a practice, you create a new license through the practice dashboard, fill in a few of their details, their bank and sort code from their Mettle account, and create that new license. It's worthwhile noting their permissions. So they need to at least have banking permissions to be able to enable that bank feed that they will need to do to get the transactions into FreeAgent. And if you want them to be able to see the tax estimates and tax timeline, make sure that they're at level 7 to be able to see and they have tax permissions. And that's as simple as it gets. But again, it's worthwhile calling out from the FreeAgent side, our support team is second to none. We are always at hand to help on any challenges or issues that either yourself or your clients come up against. And I've talked a lot. I've talked a lot of detail on there, but I think the few things just to, as a key takeaway, particularly under the banner of MTD Ready and that connected advantage, it's a seamless connection between FreeAgent and Mettle. The data passes both ways, and that's really powerful. The ability to be able to always be ahead of your tax, see that tax number, be prepared for it, be able to save with it, will give confidence to customers and practices that everybody's ready and there's not going to be no last minute pressure to be able to find money, and that automated workflow. So that's about the quality of the data that comes through. If there's no manual processes in there, it should save time and take off some of the pressure around MTD. And that's all I have for today between Mettle and FreeAgent. Any questions, pop them in the Q&A section, but I will pass over to Owen, who's going to give you a demonstration.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kelly. So now you've seen how easy it is to set up Mettle and FreeAgent. Now let's take a look at some of the key features within FreeAgent. So to ensure that your connections are kept with your bank feed, we do have a bulk bank feed reconsent option from your dashboard. So this reconsents all of your clients' bank feeds in bulk. To access this, you just click on the name of your practice on the top right. You go into connections and add-ons, and from there you go into bank connections and click manage. They don't allow us to have fake bank feeds, but this is how it looks. It has your client's name, the bank they bank with, the account name, and then the status. When you click update all connections, it will pull through all of those connections and reconsent them for you to ensure that the information is getting pulled through from Mettle as well. If I go back into my client's accounts and I switch into my sole trade license, so for MTD IT within FreeAgent, we do have 2 separate licenses. So if you have an individual who is caught under MTD IT with both landlord and self-employment income, they will need 2 separate licenses. So for self-employment, it's a sole trade license. For our landlord license, it is our unincorporated. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the banking area and chat through our bank rules. So we go into banking and bank accounts and business current account. If your client does complete some of the bookkeeping on the Mettle app, that will pull through the bank feed and it will categorize those items for you. If I want to do it without the Mettle bank feed, I can come in here and I can see that in here I have my items that are marked for approval and unexplained. For approval items, follow guest rules and guest explanations. Guest rules are day-to-day transactions that have a piece of bookkeeping attached to it. So I can see here, I can view my invoice and it shows me the piece of bookkeeping that's attached to it. If I'm happy with that one, I can click on it and I can approve. And now this is a fully approved transaction. Then we have guest explanations, which are day-to-day transactions that don't have bookkeeping attached to it. What FreeAgent will do is, if it's never been explained before, it will look at everyone else's FreeAgent account and see what they would normally categorize that item as. So for this transaction, LNER, most people would probably call that travel, but maybe your client prefers to put this as subscription, or you prefer to put it as subscription. And when I click approve and save, the next time LNER loads in, it will load in as a subscription instead of travel, because it learns from what you do within the account. If you're happy with all of these items, you can left click beside the first date, and then you can left click beside date on the top left, and that will highlight all of your items within here. If you don't want to explain an item, you can just click beside it and it will remove that from your bulk approval. Over on the right hand side, we have our bulk approve, and we can approve all 12 of those guest rules and guest explanations. Then we have an unexplained tab. So this follows our excluded terms. So if I go into more and I go into guest rules and excluded terms. So all of our guest rules and guest explanations apply to all of the transactions. So you need to pick the items you do not want to guest to explain and for it to be marked as unexplained. So in Costco, you could buy cupcakes and you could buy a car. So instead of FreeAgent explained to the same category over and over again, you could mark this as an unexplained item by marking it as excluded term up the top right hand side and enter your transactional term. Another good one is Amazon. It can be a part word or a full word. So if Ben or Benjamin loads into the bank account, it'll be marked as an unexplained item. So if I go back into my bank account in here, I can see my unexplained item. I can see my 2 Costcos within here, and I can click into my Costco and I can explain that transaction to materials just like that. Also, if it comes to quarter or year end, when it comes to MTD, and you want to fix items that within the banking, from the drop down menu, you can date filter search. So if I search for 2526, it filters for that date within here. And then I can search for a nominal code, a particular value, a description. So if I search for that LNER transaction, I can see all my LNER transactions and I can see it's going to subscription, the one I changed. If I left click on the top one and left click beside date, it highlights all those items again. Now on the right hand side, I have my bulk re-explain option. So within here, I can change it from payment, sales refund, money paid to user, transfer another account, because these are money out transactions. It'd be different options if it was a money in transaction. I'm going to remove the VAT off this one. I'm going to change them all to travel. And as well, I'm going to change it from LNER to Trainline. And then when I click explain 15 transactions, in one go, it will change all of those. Description to Trainline, it will change them all to travel, and it will remove the VAT element off all of those transactions. Next, let's look at Smart Capture. So Smart Capture is a paid for add-on in FreeAgent. So if I click in here and I click into Smart Capture, it is our OCR technology. Every account gets 10 free a month, but after that, it does come at a cost. Even if you do bank with any of the NatWest Group accounts, you still have to pay for the add-on. If you are a FreeAgent partner, though, you do receive discounts off it. It's £5 per month for an end user plus VAT. So in here, you can choose to drag and drop your files. So I can open and I can drop my file in here. And then it will process the receipt date and total value. Every account gets 10 free a month, a calendar month, and it can do one of 3 things. So within here, you can see that if an item is matched to a bank transaction, if I click the 3 dots beside it and I click review transaction, I can see the transaction it's looking to match to, and I can see the smart capture that I've created, and I can approve and save that within here. As well, you can convert it to a bill from the drop-down menu, and you can click create bill. Within here, it does populate some details. So it'll populate your supplier contact. It'll populate the bill date. You just need to assign it a reference. And as well, then it will also populate a spending category. So this is for refuse bags. So it's going to my office equipment and the total value. And I can just click save and review. And now that is a live bill within the software or purchase invoice. If I go back into Smart Capture, you will see that that food bags is missing. So anything that has been assigned to a bill, to an expense, or to a bank transaction will be removed from the Smart Capture files area. As well, if I want to convert one to an expense, I can click from the drop-down menu again, and I can click Create Expense. Then it'll ask me to pick the claimant. Within the category, it has suggested some categories for me. So I can say that this is a combination of meals, and then add the date, the total value, and then all I need to do is create new expense, and then that's an out-of-pocket expense that needs to be reimbursed to that individual. Now let's take a look at the landlord offering within FreeAgent. So if I switch over here and I switch into my landlord offering, you can see in here there's a few differences. So within here you'll see the property tab. So this is where you add all of your properties. So if you want to add a property, you click add new property, you fill in the address, and you click create new property. Each property has their own individual P&L and the income and expenses that have been attached to each of those properties will be listed in each of those tabs. Also, we have an overall property profitability where I can view the full report from here, which will just bring me into the profit and loss section of FreeAgent. As well, we also have split ownership agreements. So within FreeAgent, you add your users as owners, and this will allow you to assign them as an owner to a property. So if I click edit property settings, the first one is without any specific arrangements. So if I have a husband and wife and it's 50-50 over the whole portfolio, I can just add that within here. If I want to add a new one, all I do is click add new, and then from the drop-down menu, I can pick my property, and then I can assign my percentages from here, and I can add another, and I can add Tom as well for 45, and then I can click Save Changes. Now I already have a split on that property, just like here, and then that will be reflected on the MTD IT return. When it comes to assigning transactions, so you have to assign invoices, bills, expenses, and bank transactions to a property. I'm going to show you how to do this for a bank transaction. So if I go into my business current account and I receive my rent into my account, and let's say I only received £3,000 and that was the net amount. So they took their letting agency fees off it. If I click into the transaction and I click into adjustments and I click add fees or commission, I can add the fees to this transaction. So if I add, let's say £500, very expensive letting agency fees, I can add that in here and it will gross the transaction for the full amount that I can assign to the rent. So if I click save, in here then it's created that money out transaction gone to letting agency fees. And then from here, I can say it's rental to Park Lane, and I can explain that in here, and that has been assigned against that property. If I go into the taxes area and the self-assessment area, this is where we can access the MTD IT returns for our owners within this license. So for our sole trade license, you can only file for one individual on that license, but for our landlord offering, you can file for all of the owners that are in the portfolio. So from the drop-down menu, you can pick between which one you would like to view their self-assessment return. If they aren't on the new MTD IT return, if I click into their self-assessment, it just shows me the old self-assessment in FreeAgent. So if I back out of here and I go into my one, so I'm registered for MTD IT and I click into my return, I can see the MTD IT return. If you have multiple individuals caught under MTD IT, you'll be able to see their individual return in each individual self-assessment section. So you can see here, this populates the UK property pages. So if I was on the sole trade license, it'll be the self-employment pages. Underneath here is your annual tax estimate. So this is a combination of everything HMRC holds in their system, and it's tied to your national insurance number. So anything that's been reported, even PUI income, will be combined into this section here to complete your annual tax estimate. Underneath in this box is your quarterly updates, and this is just for this individual. So just for myself, so all the income and expenses for the percentage that I own of the properties will pull into this section. Now we have it done by tax reporting type, so this is what will get reported to HMRC. As you can see in here, quarter 1 to 4, I need to have my income and expenses, but you can see that I also have adjustment allowances. These need to be added in the bookkeeping solution that you're using, but they're only required for your end of year. They're not a quarterly requirement. So once you have your bookkeeping done, all you need to really do is come in and send update, because that's all that's required for your quarters. To add items to your annual summary, you can just click annual summary. And from there, you can edit an adjustment by just clicking edit an adjustment, or you can add a new one. I have no new ones that I can add, but I can add an allowance by just clicking add allowance, and I have to fill in all the details for that allowance. If there's any change in non-financial information, you can put that information in here below. Next question would be, are you going to use FreeAgent as where you're going to make your final declaration, your final submission? If you're not, you're going to select edit details and you select no, you do not want to send individual information, and you can save those changes. In here, you'll still see the UK property in the annual summary, and you'll still see your tax breakdown. This is your estimated page on how HMRC came up with your tax estimate. So it shows you all the calculations with all the income sources that it has, and it shows you how that calculation was made, and it shows you if there was any allowances and deductions as well added, and the payments haven't changed. They're still the same as the old self-assessment as it's listed down below. If you do decide to file with us, you can select edit details, and from here you can select yes. One thing to point out as well, we do support calendar year quarters. So if you have someone that's VAT registered and their year end lines up with their VAT, it'll be good to put them on the calendar year quarters as well. So if I save changes in here, I have the individual information, and I also have the losses tab. The individual information is like your final declaration. This is where you add all of your items. So any charitable gains, CIS deductions, directorship dividends, disclosures, foreign and other dividend income, foreign reliefs. As you can see in here, a lot of these items were not supported on our old self-assessment system. Now they are on our MTD IT return. As you can see, we've quite a few in here, and this is an ever-growing area of FreeAgent. As HMRC release their API links to this, we then build for them. So you'll see this grow. If you've anyone on the pilot program, you will see this grow as time goes on. As well, we also have the losses tab. The losses is not just for this individual submission, it is for all the submissions made to HMRC. So if I have self-employment income, I can add a loss gain for that as well. So I can carry forward my company X, and then I can say it's my self-employed, and I can create that within here, even though I am on my landlord license. Then if I go back to my UK property within here, and I want to first, before I send an update, let's say you have a landlord and you have a sole trade, and you've submitted your sole trade first, and then you go to submit your landlord. Once you submit your landlord, it will combine both the sole trade and the landlord income. But on your landlord account, it will show only your landlord income, because when you send an update, it will also download the information off HMRC's websites, everything they store. If you don't want to send another update, but you want to have the most accurate annual tax estimate, from the drop-down menu, you can request data from HMRC. So this means you do not need to send an update. It just downloads all the information that it holds. To send an update, all I do is click send update. And then from here, I click send update. And you'll notice that Q1 and Q2 will be processing. So it's going to submit, if any changes are made in Q1, it will just update HMRC of those changes, and it will update that in Q1 and be reflected within Q1. Today, we're joined with Courtney. She's from Gorilla, and we're going to kind of chat through some of her stories on MTD for income tax. Would you like to introduce yourself, Courtney?
Hi, morning everyone. I'm Courtney. I've worked at Gorilla for 6.5 years now. So I've been through the MTD for VAT changes, and now here for the MTD for income tax changes, and all of it's been through FreeAgent. So I have plenty of stories about FreeAgent and how we've used it and helped.
So for the first question, Courtney, how are you using Mettle and FreeAgent to help your practice scale and harness the MTD business opportunity?
So because FreeAgent had got their Making Tax Digital for Income Tax solution ready from it keeps changing names, so the MTD for It's a Pilot, Trial, because the FreeAgent software was ready from that point, it's allowed Gorilla to jump on board with it straight away, figure out how it's looking to the user, how it looks for us, and then start to build our processes so that when it comes to April, we're not trying to learn as everyone's trying to adapt their new routine and new process. We've tested it, we've got a process in place, and we can be like, right, this is what we need from you, this is what you need to do, go away and do it, and then on a quarter basis, we'll catch up. So it's just really allowed us to get ahead of the game, I'd want to say, and just really tighten up these processes. So come April, hopefully we have found a few niggles, or we've had a few clients on the trial process, or we've heard their concerns, so we've been able to help mitigate them and just provide the assurance that come April, when we have a whole influx of other clients that are required to do it, we know where the reassurance is needed and where the extra support is needed.
And this lends on very well to the next question. Where do you still see the most friction with clients under MTD, and how does the Mettle and FreeAgent proposition help minimize that friction?
So I think it's totally client dependent on what frictions come from where, and the response that you get for the MTD. Some people will already be on these types of bookkeeping softwares. However, the ease of FreeAgent's integration with Mettle, so obviously, like Kelly was mentioning before, a free bank and a free banking software, anybody that is a free bookkeeping software that integrates with the bank, anybody that is not just opposed to it or just not familiar with it, it's already quite an incentive because it's not going to cost you any extra to use it. So anybody that has concerns with that, it's a nice way to, look, you can get it for free. Just try it. Let's just try it and see how it goes for you. I think there's frictions with people that, get used to just dropping off a set of receipts. We're now talking digital records. You can't do that anymore. People can say, well, they're set in their ways. Unfortunately, you've got to have these digital records in place, which FreeAgent, like we showed on the demo as well, you have stuff like Smart Capture, which helps you drop off your receipts. You're just dropping it off into a software. So there are all these frictions, but like we've seen at Gorilla and like you just demoed, there are the resolutions as well. Like there is the solution there for it. I'd say the biggest friction of all is the pricing. Obviously, an extra service comes at an extra price. So when you have things such as a bookkeeping software that comes at even a reasonable price or free if you do the Mettle, again, that helps to just promote it a little bit more and alleviate any stress on the pricing, really. But they're my main three. Like I said, totally client dependent. So by doing this trial, it has allowed us to see those different demographics and just see the response from the different client type.
And then when you're managing hundreds or even thousands of clients, actually does become a big concern. How has the automated data flow between Mettle and FreeAgent reduced errors, rates, or rework for your team?
Admin time. It's just saved us on admin time, absolutely. There's so much less time like talking to clients on the bookkeeping and more time on the advisory. So, they put the information in FreeAgent, we can then review it. Obviously, there's going to be some things that we think, like we've seen in the chat today, that being reclaimed on trade, we would raise that to the client. But rather than us going through and questioning every single transaction, we can have a look in there in the FreeAgent software, and then just raise it to the client and provide some advice. You know, we could see things that they're not claiming for already that they might want to, or claiming for something, reclaiming the VAT on something they shouldn't be, and we can advise otherwise. And going back to the admin time, like you showed us, when there is an error with one, you can identify it with all, and just update that error. And I don't think it was mentioned on your on your demo, but the feature that's really helpful is when you update all of them, FreeAgent actually recognises that. So when it does the guest feature on the transactions going forward, it will then pick up on the amendments. So then going forward, you're then not having to correct that same issue. So again, it might only be a 30-second change for one client, but when you are dealing with hundreds, you know, pennies make pounds, seconds make minutes and hours. So yeah, it's a huge time saver for us.
And you were chatting about the friction of having clients come in with their plastic bag and struggling with them. What is the single biggest change you've seen in their behavior or compliance since moving them from Mettle and FreeAgent?
Yeah, it's I mean, originally people are going to huff and puff because it's a change of scenario. However, what it allows you to do by using Mettle that has the features of the tax timelines, you know, the tax saving pots, same as FreeAgent, that shows you distributable profit, it shows an expected tax. You get more understanding of your finances, you get more of an idea of the tax that you're facing. So although originally it might be a big change for the clients, I think there's been actually quite a positive attitude change, because it just allows them to get a better grips on their business. They can look at the finances. It forces them to actually review their work and their trade on a quarterly basis, rather than, like you say, at the end of the year, dropping it off and then being absolutely horrified when I've made that much money, but I spent how much and how much is my tax? Like, you know, they're on top of it. They're much more aware of what's going on.
And then you've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but you were kind of chatting about the guest explanations and how they work over time. But in terms of some of the features we've talked through, such as the tax timeline calculations and the saving pots within Mettle, how helpful have these been to Gorilla?
I think what it has allowed, which, you know, people worry AI is going to take your jobs. No, it's not. It can't advise you. However, what it can do is actually give you calculations in real time, so that clients aren't just ringing up saying, can you do me this calculation? It'll be instead, right, I can see my tax bill is expected to be X amount. It's looking a little bit too high, like it's a lot higher than last year. Can you let me know what's going on? What can we do about it? So it just allows us to do the advisory side a bit sooner than we would previously, and takes out the calculations.
And then FreeAgent is known for its user-friendly interface. In the context of MTD, where quarterly filing is now mandatory, how important is that ease of use for keeping your sole trade and landlord clients engaged with their accounts?
I think, you know, so we use FreeAgent predominantly here. We do have a couple of other bookkeeping softwares purely from when other clients have come over from other places or they've got a large business. But it's predominantly FreeAgent, and, you know, if it wasn't easy for the client, there's plenty of other accountants out there and bookkeeping softwares that they would just go and find an easier one or another alternative. And if it's going to save them time, they will do it. So just getting the clients on board with it and making sure that it is so accessible for these people has just meant that it keeps our clients with us, really, and that's why they choose us.
And this last question from me, for your landlord clients who have multiple properties, how does the FreeAgent property-specific functionality simplify the required separate reporting for MTD IT compared to a more generic accounting solution?
Exactly what I mentioned on, and it was even on the last one, with the calculations. You're not having to manually sit there and go, right, you are having 30% of that, 40% of that property. It's all there within FreeAgent. Like, you can literally just export that information out of there once you've done your review, you know, when you've checked everything. But you can export that information and then just simply input it or like FreeAgent is showing us now, we can do that on the quarterly updates. So it's just like another safety blanket of not only do you not have to manually do the calculations, but the timing on it, and the software's going to do it, and the light's gone off again.
Shut you out.
I know, kicking me off.
Thank you very much for your time today, Courtney. It was greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
So we're just going to dive into just one more little kind of FreeAgent's newest release and up and coming features. So I'm just going to share my screen again. So this is all to do with MTD IT and permissions. So if I just share my screen. So the first thing is our MTD IT report. So within the reporting area of FreeAgent, we have this new Making Tax Digital for Income Tax report. So within here, you can see your status, if there's any overdue, due, pending, rejected, or up and coming submissions. We also can choose the type of client. So you have all clients if you're a senior account manager. You have my clients, the ones that are assigned to you as an account manager, and then you can also view your group clients as well. So from within here, you can see if any of them were rejected or due or overdue, and it's super easy just to switch through in here and you can see exactly what that issue was. Also within the dashboard, we have some tax submission and controls. This lives up in the top right-hand side, with your practice name and within settings. So in here, we have our tax submission and access control. And within the income tax tab is where we have our new features. So the client access setting is, are they able to view the self-assessment area, whether it is MTD IT or the old legacy self-assessment area? This is the first question. So do you want account managers level 7 or 8? Do you want the account managers and level 8 users, or just the account managers in your practice being able to view that area? Then you have your legacy self-assessment setting. Would you like your clients that are level 8 users to be able to submit their own? And we have MTD specific, where you have what would you allow your level 8 users to be able to do? Do you want them not touching it and doing no submissions at all? Do you want quarterly updates only? Do you want quarterly and end of year updates, and quarterly, end of year, and final declaration? We also do have an approval process built into our MTD IT submissions, so you can choose when these approvals happen. So no submissions means there's no approvals across all the submissions. Final declaration is just the final submission. We have our end of year updates and final declaration, or would you like your clients to basically approve quarterly, end of year, and final declaration, every aspect of the MTD IT return? Under here, then, we also have our email. So this is the email that will get sent out to your client to approve those MTD IT, either final decks or quarterlies. And I just click Save Changes to save those. Also, that is a universal. If you want individual client controls, you can just click on the client. You can click into More. And within here, you can click Edit Tax Permission. You can untick this button, which means that you're just going off the default and you want to create your own unique one for this client. And from within here, I can just save those changes, and then that'll be reflected just on this client. That's it for us today. Thank you very much for joining and being part of the webinar with Mettle and FreeAgent and Courtney from Gorilla. I hope everyone has a lovely week, and thank you very much.